Welcome to the Alsa Knows podcast. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into this really fascinating blend of ideas about living a more purposeful life and an abundant life, but it's not your typical self-help stuff.
Yeah, it's really not. We're working with a transcript from a YouTube video. It's called God's Chosen Ones, Unlock Your Gift and Step into Billionaire Potential, the Sacred Light. And we've also got some supporting notes to add a little bit more context.
What really stood out to me when I first saw this was how it's combining spirituality and like a divine calling with achieving success, like real material success. It's this idea of aligning with a bigger plan, but also aiming high. You know what I mean?
It's a really interesting mix, for sure. The source material leans pretty heavily on stories, both classic examples and modern figures, to illustrate these points. Like you've got Joseph from the Bible, but then also J.K. Rowling.
Okay, I want to jump right into this idea of a divine calling. The video really doesn't hold back. It basically says that you, the listener, are chosen for a specific purpose. It even tells viewers to type Amen or 777 in the comments.
Yeah, that direct approach definitely jumped out at me, too. It's going a step beyond just believing in a higher power. It's saying, hey, you've got this unique role to play in a larger divine plan.
It's bold for sure.
Right.
And then it takes it even further. It
Yeah.
says that all those challenges you faced, tough times, setbacks, whatever, they're all part of a divine preparation.
Right. It's framing those struggles not as random events or punishments, but as if they were like deliberate steps in shaping you for something bigger. The transcript uses this analogy of gold being refined by fire. You know how they do that? And it even quotes a Bible verse, James 1:23. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance.
It's like turning why me into what am I learning? Instead of feeling like a victim, you start seeing challenges as opportunities to grow and build resilience.
And they use some really compelling examples to drive this point home. The story of Joseph is a classic one. He's sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused, and then imprisoned. But through it all, those trials actually end up positioning him to save lives during a famine.
So even when things seem super unfair or maybe they don't make sense right now, the video is saying, hey, they could be setting you up for something truly amazing down the line.
Exactly. It's like trust the process even when it's painful.
I like that.
All right.
Okay, so let's flip the script. Instead of seeing your differences or the things that make you unique as weaknesses, maybe they're your superpowers in disguise, preparing you for something that only you can do.
That's the message they're going for. And they bring in another example from the Bible, the story of Esther, who becomes queen for such a time as this. The video uses that to kind of suggest that your current circumstances, even the difficult ones, might be strategically positioning you to fulfill a destiny that no one else can.
This is already making me rethink how I view challenges.
Mhm.
What's really standing out to you about this whole divine calling concept?
For me, it's the potential shift in perspective. Instead of feeling overwhelmed or defeated by hard times, it encourages you to look for the lesson, the growth opportunity. Maybe even a hint of a bigger plan unfolding.
I like that. It's like even in those why me moments,
Yeah.
remembering that maybe there's a watch me coming right around the corner.
All right, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about another big idea in this transcript, redefining wealth.
This is where I got really curious. Because when I hear billionaire potential in the video title, I immediately think of money.
Of course. But the video is careful to make a distinction between true wealth and material possessions. It argues that true wealth is more about well-being. It's about relationships that are fulfilling and this deep sense of alignment with your purpose. In fact, there's another Bible verse it quotes, Matthew 6:19-20. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven.
So it's less about those outward markers of success, fancy cars and big houses, and more about that inner peace and feeling like you're on the right track.
Exactly. And to really drive this home, it brings in the story of Job. He's this guy who has immense wealth, then loses everything, family, possessions, health. But even while he's suffering, he stays faithful. Eventually, he gets blessed with even more than he had before.
It's making the point that true wealth isn't about what you have, but who you are, how you handle those inevitable storms of life.
Right. And it contrasts this with the story of the rich young ruler who couldn't let go of his possessions to follow Jesus. It's a warning about the dangers of valuing money above all else.
It definitely makes me think about my own definition of success. What does true wealth really mean to me? Is it about chasing those external things, or is it about something deeper?
That's the question we should all be asking ourselves, and it leads perfectly into the next big theme from the transcript, the power of community.
Yes. This one really resonated with me. The video emphasizes that you're not meant to achieve your divine calling all alone. You need support and guidance and a sense of belonging along the way.
It makes a really strong case for the idea that community is essential for personal growth and for having a greater impact. It's about recognizing that we all need each other to thrive.
They use the example of Andrew Carnegie, who is like this massively successful businessman. He attributed a lot of his achievements to teamwork and collaborating with others. He had a mastermind group with all these brilliant thinkers and innovators who helped him make his vision a reality.
That's a great example of how community can amplify your success. And the transcript also mentions Moses. Even though he was this powerful leader, he literally needed others to hold up his arms in battle. The point is, no matter how strong or capable we are, we all need help sometimes.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But it's important to note, the video doesn't just say, find any community. It warns against surrounding yourself with negativity. It actually quotes 1 Corinthians 15.33, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character.
That's an important point. The people you spend time with, the environments you're in, those things shape you. They influence your mindset, your actions, even your destiny. It makes you think, are the people around me lifting me up or dragging me down?
It's a powerful reminder to be intentional about who we let into our inner circle. Okay, so speaking of intentionality, let's talk about this really fascinating dynamic between faith and action that comes up in the transcript.
This is where things move from the realm of ideas to actually doing something. The transcript emphasizes that having faith is essential. You have to believe that what you desire is possible. But it's the action that makes that belief a reality. It's not enough to just sit back and wait. You got to put in the work.
Faith without works is just wishful thinking, right? The transcript really drives this point home by highlighting stories where action was key, like Nehemiah. He had this vision to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. But he didn't just pray about it. He made a plan. He gathered resources. He rallied people. All of those practical steps were absolutely crucial.
There's that preparation theme again. It's like, okay, I've got this calling, this big dream. Now, how do I actually make it happen? What are the steps?
And then there's the story of the Israelites marching around Jericho, just walking around those walls for 7 days. It probably seemed insane at the time, but it was their obedience coupled with their faith that brought those walls down. It wasn't passive faith, it was faith in motion.
And they bring in modern examples, too, like J.K. Rowling and her struggle to get Harry Potter published. She faced so much rejection, but she just kept going. She kept refining her work and believing in her vision. It's that willingness to act despite setbacks that led to her success.
It's so easy to get discouraged when things get tough, but those stories are really inspiring. They remind us to keep taking those steps even when we can't see the finish line.
Right. And the transcript also puts a lot of emphasis on positive affirmations, speaking those things you want to see happen into existence, declaring them with faith and conviction.
I'm a big believer in affirmations.
Yeah.
It's so helpful to shift my language away from saying things like, I can't, or it's too hard, and start saying, I am capable. I will achieve this. Abundance is flowing into my life. Things like that.
It's about aligning your thoughts and your words with the outcomes you want, creating that positive energy and momentum. They even use the example of the widow and 2 kings who had almost nothing. But she trusted God's guidance and acted on faith. And because of that, her small amount of oil miraculously multiplied to fill all these jars.
That's such a great illustration of how faith coupled with action can lead to incredible results. It's like, don't underestimate the power of even the smallest steps as long as they're taken with faith and intention.
Exactly. Now, here's where it gets a little mystical for me. The transcript encourages listeners to pay attention to signs and synchronicities, those little nudges from the universe that tell you you're on the right path. They're saying these aren't just random events. They're meaningful occurrences meant to guide you.
Okay, so what kind of signs are we talking about here? Give me an example.
It could be anything, really, like running into someone who gives you a piece of advice that you really needed, or stumbling upon a book that addresses exactly the challenge you're facing, or even just a song on the radio that seems to speak to your soul at that moment. You know what I mean?
So it's about being more tuned in to those little coincidences and seeing them as something more.
Right. The transcript encourages listeners to be more aware, more present, more open to seeing the hand of a higher power at work in those seemingly small moments. It's about trusting your intuition, that gut feeling that tells you whether something is right or wrong, and following those nudges even when you don't fully understand where they're leading.
I like that. It's like having faith in the unseen, even when the path isn't totally clear. It's about surrendering control and trusting that you're being guided towards something amazing.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that idea of embracing the journey of refinement. That's where the challenges we talked about earlier come full circle. Instead of fearing those difficult times, the transcript suggests that we view them as opportunities for growth and transformation.
It's like those diamonds that are formed under pressure. Those tough experiences often shape us into the strongest, most resilient versions of ourselves. But that doesn't mean it's easy to go through them, right?
Of course not. The source material acknowledges that hardship is difficult, but it encourages us to see those challenges not as setbacks, but as stepping stones, on our path to something greater.
So instead of asking, why is this happening to me, we ask, what is this teaching me?
Yeah.
How is this shaping me into the person I need to be to fulfill my purpose?
Exactly. And the transcript gives some pretty inspiring examples of people who have gone through incredible challenges and come out stronger on the other side. Like Nelson Mandela, he endured 27 years in prison, and yet he emerged with this profound vision for reconciliation and justice that transformed a nation.
His story is such a powerful testament to the human spirit's ability to not only survive, but to thrive in the face of adversity. It shows that even in the darkest of times, we can choose to focus on hope and forgiveness and the possibility of a brighter future.
The transcript also mentions the story of David from the Bible. He faced lions and bears when he was tending his sheep, and those seemingly insignificant challenges actually prepared him to face Goliath. It highlights how those experiences, even the ones that feel small at the time, can be laying the groundwork for something truly remarkable down the line.
It's like those early challenges are our training ground.
Yeah.
They're helping us develop the strength and the resilience and the faith we'll need to face our own Goliaths later on. And we all have those Goliaths in our lives, right? Those challenges that push us to our limits and force us to dig deep and discover what we're really made of.
Exactly. And the transcript encourages us to embrace those challenges, to see them not as obstacles, but as opportunities to step into our power and really fulfill our potential.
It's about shifting from fear to faith, from doubt to determination, from focusing on the problem to focusing on the possibilities.
And it's about remembering that we're not alone on this journey. The transcript brings us back to those signs and synchronicities we talked about, those little winks from the universe, that we're on the right path, that we're being guided and supported even when we can't see the whole picture.
It's about trusting that inner voice, that gut feeling, that intuition that says, keep going, even when the path ahead is unclear.
Exactly. And that trust, that faith is what allows us to take those next steps, to embrace the unknown, and to step boldly into the fullness of our divine calling.
Wow, there's so much to think about already. I love how this video is blending all these concepts together: divine calling, overcoming challenges, the importance of community, and that balance of faith and action.
It's a really unique mix of ideas that encourages us to see our lives through a different lens, and we've only scratched the surface.
I can't wait to dive in even deeper. This is definitely an episode you don't want to miss.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, let's remind our listeners to like, subscribe, and share this deep dive with anyone who might be looking for a more meaningful and impactful life. And be sure to join the Allison Knows community on Spotify and YouTube. We'll be back with more insights from this fascinating source material after a quick break.
So before the break, we were talking about embracing those challenges, seeing those tough times as part of this bigger plan.
Yeah, and all the examples from the transcript are so striking. Like Nelson Mandela coming out of prison after 27 years with this incredible vision for peace and justice.
It really makes you think about how those difficult experiences, the ones that don't feel good at all in the moment, they can really refine us, shape our understanding, and then ultimately equip us to make a real difference in the world.
It makes me wonder, what those challenges are preparing ME for. What kind of impact could I have if I just stay focused on that bigger picture?
Absolutely. And the source material also uses the story of David from the Bible, the shepherd boy who fought lions and bears while he was protecting his flock. Those encounters, you could say they were small compared to facing Goliath, but they were crucial for him to develop the courage and the skill and the faith that he needed later on.
It's a good reminder that we're always learning, always growing. And those early challenges, they're like laying the foundation for something much bigger.
Correct.
Like every obstacle we overcome is another step up, preparing us for that next level.
Exactly. And the source material argues that we all have our own Goliaths to face. Those challenges that really test us and force us to tap into our deepest strength and our faith. And the key is to see those moments not as defeats, but as opportunities to grow and transform.
It's like recognizing that those moments, even though they're really hard, they're pushing us to become more than we ever thought we could be.
Precisely. It's about shifting our focus away from why me and more towards what can I learn from this? How can I use this to become stronger and wiser?
It's about trusting that this whole journey, even with all the bumps in the road and the detours, it's ultimately leading us to our highest good.
And that leads us to the really exciting part where we start taking action. Remember, the source material is really big on saying that faith is essential, but it needs to be paired with action to really unlock our potential.
Yeah, it's like they say, faith without works is dead. You can believe all you want, but if you don't take action, nothing really changes.
Exactly. And they offer some practical advice on how to actually make this happen. Like they use the example of Nehemiah. He had this incredible vision to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. But he didn't just pray about it. He created a detailed plan, gathered resources, rallied people to help him. It was all about taking those practical
There's
steps.
that preparation theme again. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I've got this vision, this big dream. Now what's the plan? What are the actual steps to make it happen?
Right. And then there's the story of the Israelites marching around Jericho. Can you imagine just walking around those walls for 7 days? It probably seemed crazy. But they trusted God's instructions and they put their faith into action. And what happened? Those walls came tumbling down. It wasn't passive faith, it was faith in motion.
It's a great reminder that even when actions seem unexpected, when we combine them with that unwavering faith, they can lead to extraordinary results.
The source material also pulls in some modern day examples too, like J.K. Rowling and her journey with Harry Potter. She got rejected so many times, but she didn't give up. She kept refining her manuscript and believing in her story. And that willingness to take action, combined with her belief in her vision, ultimately led to incredible success.
It's a story that really highlights how important it is to persevere and to trust your gut, even when other people don't get it. Because sometimes those greatest successes come after the toughest challenges.
Absolutely. And it's that unwavering belief in yourself, in your vision, and in a higher power working in your life that allows you to keep going even when things are uncertain.
The video also talks about the power of positive affirmations. Speaking of those things you want to see happen into existence.
Mhm.
It even quotes Joel 3.10, let the weak say, I am strong.
It's all about shifting your language, your thoughts, even your beliefs to line up with the things you want. Instead of dwelling on what you can't do, you focus on your potential, your strengths, the abundance that's waiting for you.
Oh, I love affirmations. They're so helpful. It's like you're retraining your brain to focus on the positive and to attract the things you want.
Right, and they use the example of the widow in 2 Kings. She had next to nothing, but she trusted God's guidance and she acted on faith. And because of her belief and her action, her tiny bit of oil miraculously multiplied and filled all these jars.
That story is a great example of how when we pair faith with action, we can get amazing results. Don't underestimate those small steps as long as they're taken with faith and intention.
Absolutely. Now, this part is where things get a little mystical for me. The transcript encourages people to pay attention to signs and synchronicities. It's like the universe is giving you these little nudges to let you know you're on the right track. And they're saying these aren't random events, they're actually meaningful, and they're there to guide us.
Okay, so give me an example. What kind of signs are we talking about?
Well, it could be anything, really. Like you randomly meet someone who gives you this perfect piece of advice, or you stumble across a book that talks about exactly the challenge you're dealing with, or even just hearing a song on the radio that seems to speak to your soul at that very moment. You know, those kinds of things.
So it's like being more aware of those little coincidences and seeing them as something more.
Exactly. The transcript wants us to be more present, more aware, more open to seeing how a higher power might be working in our lives, even in those small everyday moments. It's about trusting your intuition, that gut feeling that tells you if something's right or wrong,
Hmm,
and then following those nudges even when you don't totally understand where they're taking you.
I like that. It's like having faith in what you can't see. Trusting that you're being guided towards something amazing even when the path ahead isn't totally clear.
And that brings us back to the idea of embracing refinement. That's where those challenges we talked about earlier come back into play. Instead of being afraid of those tough times, the transcript wants us to see them as opportunities to grow and become better versions of ourselves.
Yeah, it's like those diamonds that are formed under all that pressure. The tough experiences we go through, they make us stronger, more resilient. But that doesn't mean they're easy to deal with.
No, of course not. The source material knows that hardship is hard, but it wants us to see those challenges not as setbacks, but as stepping stones. You know, they're part of the journey towards something much greater.
So instead of asking, why me, it's more like, what am I learning from this? How can I use this to become the person I need to be to fulfill my purpose?
Exactly. And they highlight some really inspiring people who've gone through incredible challenges and came out so much stronger. Like Nelson Mandela. After 27 years in prison, he still emerged with this incredible vision for peace and justice that completely changed South Africa.
It's amazing how the human spirit can not only survive, but actually thrive even in the face of such adversity. His story shows us that even in those dark times, we can choose to focus on hope and forgiveness and believe that a better future is possible.
And the transcript also uses the story of David from the Bible. Remember, he had to deal with lions and bears when he was just a shepherd. Those challenges may have seemed small at the time, but they prepared him for that moment when he had to face Goliath. It shows how all those experiences, even the ones that feel small or insignificant, they might be setting the stage for something truly remarkable down the road.
It's like those early challenges are our training ground. They're helping us develop the strength, the resilience, and the faith that we need to face our own giants later on. And everyone has their own giants to face, right? Those challenges that push us to our limits and force us to really dig deep and see what we're capable of.
Exactly. And the transcript wants us to embrace those challenges, to see them not as obstacles, but as opportunities to step into our power and reach our full potential.
It's about shifting our perspective from fear to faith, from doubt to determination, from focusing on the problem to focusing on the possibilities.
And it's about remembering that we're not in this alone. The transcript brings us back to those signs and synchronicities, those little wings from the universe, that we're on the right track. Even when we can't see the whole picture, we're still being guided and supported.
It's all about trusting that inner voice, that gut feeling, that intuition that whispers, keep going, even when the path ahead isn't clear.
Exactly. And that trust, that faith, it's what allows us to keep moving forward, to embrace the unknown, and to step boldly into the fullness of our purpose.
This video is giving us so much to think about. I love how it's connecting all these different ideas together: divine calling, facing challenges, the power of community, and that crucial balance of faith and action.
It's a really fascinating way of looking at life, and we've only just scratched the surface. There's still so much more to explore.
I can't wait to keep going. This is definitely an episode you don't want to miss. But before we get into that, let's remind our listeners to like, subscribe, and share this deep dive with anyone who might be on a similar journey. Anyone who's looking for a more meaningful and impactful life. And be sure to join the Allison Knows community on Spotify and YouTube. We'd love to hear what you think about all of this. We'll be right back with even more insights from this source material after a quick break. All right, so we're back, and we've been talking about some pretty big concepts, divine calling, redefining wealth, the importance of community, and that whole idea of faith and action.
It's a lot to think about, right? But I think it's time to get practical. How do we actually APPLY all of this to our everyday lives?
That's what I'm wondering. It's one thing to understand these ideas, but how do we turn them into real actions, real change?
Well, the source material actually gives us some concrete steps to help people start living this more purposeful and abundant life. And it all starts with a decision, a commitment to embrace this new way of thinking. It's about saying yes to your divine calling, yes to abundance, yes to stepping into your full potential.
It's about making a choice, right?
Yeah.
Shifting your mindset away from those limiting beliefs like, I can't, or this is too hard, and saying instead, I am capable, I am worthy. Abundance is flowing into my life.
Exactly. You're recognizing that you have a unique purpose, and you're trusting that there's something bigger than yourself working in your life, even if you don't always see it.
The transcript also talks about setting clear goals that line up with that purpose. Taking those big dreams and breaking them down into smaller steps, things you can actually do.
It's about moving from dreaming to doing. So instead of just saying, I want to be a successful entrepreneur, you say, this week I'm going to research business ideas and create a basic plan. Take those first steps.
Get things moving, even if they seem small at first.
Right. And they're big on consistency in the source material. It's those little actions you take day after day that create real change. It's not about trying to do everything at once. It's about showing up consistently and making progress towards those goals.
It's like building a house one brick at a time. Each action adds to the whole structure.
I like that. And they even encourage people to write those goals down, create a vision board, set reminders on your phone, whatever helps to keep those goals front and center. There's even a quote from the Bible, Habakkuk 2.2. Write the vision and make it plain on tablets that he may run who reads it.
So it's about taking those dreams out of your head and putting them out into the world, giving them form and substance.
Exactly. And then it's important to review those goals regularly. Remind yourself of what you're working towards, celebrate the progress you're making, make adjustments as you go.
It's about staying focused and motivated, keeping that vision alive.
Now, remember how we've been talking about community all through this deep dive? The source material reminds us that having that supportive network is crucial. Those people who believe in you, who encourage you, who challenge you to grow.
We don't have to do this alone. Find your tribe, the people who get you, who support your dreams. They're there to celebrate your wins and lift you up when you have setbacks.
And the video doesn't just say, find a community. It tells people to be proactive about it. Join groups that share your interests. Go to workshops or conferences. Volunteer or connect with people online. There are so many ways to find those connections.
It's about being intentional, putting in the effort to build those relationships with people who inspire you and support you.
And it's not just about taking, it's about giving, too. Sharing your own gifts and talents and helping others.
Recognizing that we're all in this together, our success is tied to the success of others.
Now, along with all that action and outward focus, they also talk about stillness and reflection. It's not always about go, go, go. It's also about taking time to quiet your mind, connect with your inner wisdom, listen for that guidance.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in the craziness of life and forget to make time for those quiet moments.
Exactly. And the transcript suggests things like meditation prayer, spending time in nature, even just sitting in silence for a few minutes and listening to that inner voice. They're saying that's when we often get our best ideas and insights.
I totally agree. Those moments of stillness are so important for tapping into our intuition, that inner wisdom that always knows the way.
And speaking of intuition, remember those signs and synchronicities we talked about? It's like the universe is sending us little messages.
Yeah, those little winks that we're on the right track, those meaningful coincidences that guide us towards our purpose.
It might be a chance meeting a book you find at just the right time, a song that comes on and it feels like it was written just for you. It's about trusting that there's something bigger guiding us even when things feel uncertain, and then having the courage to follow those nudges even if we don't know exactly where they're leading.
It's about letting go of control and trusting that the universe or a higher power is working everything out for our highest good.
Exactly. Now, in addition to our spiritual connection, they also talk about the importance of taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally. We can't pour from an empty cup.
We have to make time for self-care, things that nourish our mind, body, and spirit. Whether it's getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, moving our bodies, spending time in nature, doing something we enjoy, or even just taking a break and relaxing. It's about making ourselves a priority.
It's not selfish, it's essential. When we take care of ourselves, we're able to show up better for others, pursue our goals, and live a more fulfilling life.
We're worthy of love and care, and that includes caring for ourselves.
And remember, gratitude plays a big role in that, too. They encourage us to appreciate our bodies, our minds, our spirits, to be thankful for this gift of life.
Gratitude is so powerful. The more we focus on what we have, the more we appreciate all the good things, and the more we attract abundance into our lives.
It's like shifting from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance, recognizing all the blessings that are already there.
And the more gratitude we have, the more we open ourselves up to receiving even more blessings.
It's a beautiful cycle. The more we give thanks, the more we have to be thankful for.
And it's not just about keeping those blessings to ourselves. The video also reminds us to give back, to use our gifts and talents to make the world a better place.
It's about recognizing that we're all connected and that our blessings are meant to be shared.
Whether we're volunteering our time, donating to a cause, mentoring someone, or even just offering a kind word or a helping hand, there are so many ways to make a difference.
And they emphasize that even the smallest acts of kindness can have a ripple effect, creating positive change that spreads far and wide.
I love that.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how big or small our actions might seem. And I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up.
I agree. This video, while it's definitely geared towards a certain audience, it really offers a message of hope and empowerment. It shows us that living a truly abundant life is possible.
It encourages us to embrace our purpose, face challenges with courage, build a supportive community, take action and live with gratitude and a desire to make a difference.
And to remember that we're not alone on this journey. There's something bigger than ourselves, guiding us, supporting us, and cheering us on every step of the way.
And even when things feel impossible or the path ahead isn't clear, we can trust that we're being led towards something good, towards a future full of purpose, meaning, and abundance.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone who might find it helpful. And be sure to join the Allison Knows community on Spotify and YouTube. We love hearing your thoughts.
Thank you for listening to the Allison Knows podcast. Follow Allison on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok.